Sorry about that, I'm back. My little 18-month-old is growing some molars at the moment, so he doesn't sleep a lot, which means I don't sleep a lot. Anyway, on the CO2 emissions burning fossil fuel thing, fun fact, today in The Guardian I noticed an article saying that there has been a deal struck for 2 new coal-fired power stations in the Hunter Valley. Way to keep fucking us up, guys! Good on you! Anyway, so where were we? We talked about deforestation. Oh, that's right, we were up to talking about what all the whole global warming, climate change means for us in our own little microcosms of our house. So I'm just going to pick the phone up and take you this way so that I can read the screen behind me but still look at you so I'm not mucking up my facts. So there's 3 costs really, well there's probably more, but cost is an environmental cost of climate change. There's a kind of a biodiversity type cost, which is really, I suppose, still an environmental cost. But then there's a financial cost because we all know the world revolves around money. So some of the environmental costs of climate change. So I'm sure most of you are aware that Queensland in the past 3 months has been ripped apart by floods and also, ironically, bushfires. New South Wales, the Darling River, I'm sure you also know that there's been hundreds of thousands of fish dead because there's essentially not much river left anymore, although I believe that's not entirely climate change. There's probably a little bit of mismanagement there too. I don't know a whole lot about that particular situation, but you know, still not great. 2019 in Australia saw massive heat waves. Tarcoola, yes, in South Australia reached 49 degrees Celsius. That sounds terrible. No one wants to live in somewhere that is 49 degrees Celsius, no way. The UK also in February this year experienced a heat wave in winter. For the first time ever it got above 20 degrees in their winter, which I'm sure they probably love, but in the grand scheme of things is not great. They had a 3-month, the UK, also had a 3-month heat wave over summer like ours. And as a result of all these heat waves, their emergency departments were flooded with people just not coping with the heat. Crops also affected as well, which means, you know, food prices go up, financial cost of climate change, but we'll come more to that. So 9 of the 10 hottest years on record have occurred since 2005. January 2019 was Australia's hottest month ever, ever in history. Hottest month ever. So we've already made the world 1 degree Celsius warmer than pre-industrial levels, which I think I mentioned earlier. So yeah, 0.5 of a degree to go until it really gets messed up. Sorry, I'm just having a quick read through. Yeah, that's probably the main facts that I had written down to share with you guys in terms of the environmental cost. 1.5 degrees is a pretty conservative rise as well. Scientists, depending on who you talk to, think it's more likely to be 2, 2.5, 2.7 by the end of the century, which doesn't sound like a lot, but when you think about it, that will essentially wipe out all the coral reefs, swallow some of the smaller low-lying islands because ice caps are melting and sea levels are rising. So if you're living on a small island, probably is now the time to consider moving to higher ground. You know, in the long-term scheme of things, you don't want to be packing your bags as the water's lapping at your door. Anyway, biodiversity costs of climate change. I'm going to spin you around again just because I want to show you a little infographic, and I'm a little bit technically challenged, so I don't know any other way to do it. Can you see? I don't know how well that's lined up. So there's a cool little, get it lined up, chart there. So 10,000 years ago, is it all in the image? There we go. Oh yeah, there we go. So 10,000 years ago, humans made up 1% of all the land animals on Earth, and wild animals made up 99% of all the animals on Earth. Now, today, humans are 32%, wild animals are just 1%, and livestock is 67%. There you go. Turn you back around, sorry, if anyone gets motion sickness there. Scientists are also saying we are in the middle of Earth's sixth mass extinction. I didn't realise there was more than one, the most famous being the dinosaurs, but yeah, apparently there's been a few others, and we are in the middle of the 6th. So populations of wild animals have more than halved since the 1970s, while the human population has doubled. Sorry, I'm just referring to make sure I'm telling you the correct numbers. So yeah, there's been 5 other mass extinctions. But our planet's been around for 4.5 billion years. So for us to be in the middle of something, the 6th of something, it's a pretty rare event. So humans are literally, think about this for a minute, this blew me away when I worked this out. Humans are causing a 1 in a 750 million year event. So statistically, if you average out the number of mass extinctions that we've had by how old the Earth is, mass extinctions occur once every 750 million years, and we are causing this one! Good on you guys! We can also do something about that too. It doesn't have to be that way. Yeah, so there's some fun facts on what's happening to the animals in the world. Orangutans, another issue which we will talk about another day, but should also be mentioned. But I think mainly what will get people's attention is the financial cost of climate change, because money talks, and it's true, there will be financial costs of climate change. So I'm just having a read through. So the cost of the bushfires and floods in Queensland over the summer that I mentioned is estimated to cost at least $1.5 billion in the cleanup. So that's repairing infrastructure, providing support to people and emergency assistance to people that were affected. Where do you think the government gets that money from? They get it from us. And if stuff like that continues to happen, taxes will go up so we can afford to pay for the cost of fixing the results of all these, well, not all of them at the moment, but hypothetically in the future, natural disasters. There's lots of, on the blog that I wrote on this at the beginning of the week, all of these facts and figures I have sourced, so I'm not making any of this up. If you want to go and check the blog, all the facts and figures are sourced. I'm just not going to mention them all here on a live. You can go check them out on the blog if you're interested. On that note of natural disasters, insurance premiums also will go up. Fact. Insurance companies need to make money. Fact. If they keep having to pay out insurance claims because there is increasing natural disasters, they then have to recoup that money from us. So insurance premiums go up. Climate change is already, as we discussed earlier, affecting food supply, crop yields and stuff like that, which then in turn affects the price of food. Food prices go up. You're seeing a pattern here. Taxes go up, insurance premiums go up, food goes up. In addition to that, lots of people rely on the natural environment for their jobs. Tourism industry in Queensland is huge. The Great Barrier Reef, all the tourism operators there, people that work in the ski fields, if the earth warms up enough that it's all of a sudden not snowing where they're working anymore, jobs are lost. I mean, there are also jobs created in other industries, but, it affects the economy. Rising temperatures also mean there are also health implications as well, and then if there's health implications, that puts a burden on the healthcare systems, which then still cost us more money. I talked a little bit earlier about all the heat waves in the UK over summer and their emergency departments being inundated. So these things are already happening, guys. If you don't care about all the animals dying, surely you will care about the fact that you will have to pay more taxes if climate change keeps being a thing, which it will if we keep doing what we're doing. if you keep doing what you're doing, I was going to say the quote anyway, I won't say the quote because it's muddled in my brain. Anyway, point being, huge cost for climate change, but we can also do something about it. There's 6, 7, however many billion people on the earth. If we all do what we need to do and take the little steps that we need to take, the collective power of 7 billion people taking lots of little steps is huge and might, be able to pull the emergency brakes on this train. So little things, one of the biggest things actually that you can do in your own little world of your house to reduce your impact on the planet and therefore climate change and global warming is actually composting. Composting, it's so easy, so easy to do. And lots of councils around Australia now actually have various incentives in place to encourage home composting, so I really urge you to get in touch with your local council to see if you're one of the lucky ones that do. Food scraps actually account for between 50 and 60% of landfill in Australia, which is huge. Like literally half of our landfill is stuff that we could eat. And lots of people, I know I was also guilty of this once upon a time, think that it's fine, it's biodegradable, if it's in landfill, it's no big deal because it will break down. And it will, not nearly as well as it will in your own compost, because landfill is actually an anaerobic environment, and for biodegradable material like food scraps to break down, it needs 2 things, one of which is air and the other of which is water. Neither of these are really present in landfill. So it will break down over a very, very, very long time, and in the process, the microbes present in landfill in that anaerobic environment actually release methane in the process of breaking it down. So pretty much any food scraps that you send to landfill will eventually, once they're broken down, release methane into the atmosphere, which is one of those greenhouse gases contributing to the warming of our Earth and therefore climate change. Whereas if you compost these food scraps, the microbes present in a home composting system don't actually release methane in the process of breaking down food. So it's huge impact that composting can have. Lots and lots of other little things that we can do, just really being aware of what we're consuming. Shit, do I need this? Nah, maybe I don't need the new handbag. I bought a new handbag last month. Anyway, I didn't buy a new handbag last month. But if you take one thing away from this, one thing at all, is composting is a huge way to reduce your carbon footprint. Over the course of the next few weeks with March for Climate Action, we'll be talking about lots of other little things as well. Plastics next week, we'll be talking about ways that you can, minimise your plastic use and stuff like that. So I don't want to overwhelm you guys. I know I get overwhelmed sometimes. It's a little bit depressing sometimes. So I want to keep it positive, like we can create change, we're all powerful beings, and 6 billion people working together can do amazing things. So if you take away one thing from this, is that composting is amazing, food scraps are amazing. And if you don't have a garden to bury it in, there's a great resource called Share Waste. I don't know if it's sharewaste.com or .net. But if you Google share waste, it will surely come up. It pretty much just hooks you up with people looking for your food scraps. And if you don't have a home composting system already, you can get them from Bunnings. We don't sell them because you can get them from Bunnings, so I don't see the point in us increasing our carbon footprint and posting them to people when people can just get them from Bunnings. This, I will add, was in no way sponsored by Bunnings. Seriously. I got my compost kit from Bunnings and I love it. That's it. Any questions that you may have around climate change or just at all, feel free to pop a note in the comments and I will get to them. Otherwise, I will see you next week talking plastic. Good night.